Do you ever dream of wearing a long Regency gown and gracefully running through the field like an Austen heroine? Or what about sashaying and twirling in a meadow of flowers in a flowing lace Victorian or Edwardian gown, only to have those dreams dashed when the reality of 6 inches of mud is slowly creeping up your hem, and the daunting task of cleaning those hems come to haunt you in your sleep? Well, if you've answered yes to that, never fear. This is the video that will help you banish those nightmares of grass stains and muddy hems. At least until the next time you wear your gown. So last week I talked about how Victorians wash their laundry, and if you missed it, you can click the link above or the link in the description. And today I'm going to show you the tips and tricks that I use to get the stains out of my costumes. In particular, this Regency gown. So I wore this gown out back in a very muddy field back in November, and I still haven't cleaned the hems yet. So you can bet these stains are long set. Just so pretty. Anyways, normally I try and remove the stains sooner versus later, as they're a lot easier to remove if you get them before they've set. But since this past year has just been a little wibbly wobbly timey-wimey, it has gotten away from me. And here we are 9 months later, and I still have very dirty hems. Now, first things first, I'm taking a page from the Victorians, and I'm going to be soaking my hem to loosen up the dirt. This will hopefully get the majority of the dirt out, and then we'll just be dealing with any stains that are left over. Now, because I don't want these stains to set any more than they already have, I'm going to be using lukewarm water with just a little bit of soap, and I'm going to let this soak for a minimum of a couple hours. So I can soak the entire thing, but since the majority of the gown has only been worn for a very short time, I'm just going to be worrying about the hems today. Also, I do want to point out this gown is cotton, so I'm not worried about soaking it. If it was silk, I would be a bit more careful, as water and soap and silk really aren't the best of friends, at least in my experience. Now, many modern stain removers can work, but I personally find they don't work well for me. So I'm going to be using my go-to stain removers, and they are yellow sunlight soap, the sun, and a little stain remover concoction that can take out almost anything. And that is a mixture of Blue Dawn, hydrogen peroxide, and baking soda. So that's what I'm using, and it's time to get started. Weirdly lit. Okay, so I have my Regency gown on a hanger, and it is extremely overexposed. Now, since I'm just washing the hem, I'm just going to hang it up here and let everything else hang into the tub. And I may have to actually make it a little bit lower. There we go. Now it's all in the water. The water's cooled down quite a bit now. The soap is still in there. Now, this is one of my favorite soaps when it comes to getting stains out. This is just Sunlight soap. It doesn't really bleach it, but it's just really great at cleaning. So I like to rub this on the dirty areas and then scrub it with a brush. Now, any type of brush works. So this is just a scrub brush from like a back scrubber. So this is what I use to scrub my stains. So let's just get started. Let's just get the soap a little bit wet. So I'll just scrub a little bit of soap into it. Now, if you don't have a scrub brush, you can just use if you take the fabric between your fingers and you kind of rub it back and forth like this, that works to also get get stains out. It just kind of creates a bit of friction. So yeah, so just like taking the fabric in between your hands and just scrubbing it on your knuckles. And usually these stains come out a lot easier if they're fresh. The longer they sit, the harder it is for them to come out. So like if I had done this the night after wearing it, these would have come out really, really easily. Well, the dress is clean, or at least the hem is. I am so happy with how this came out. It is perfectly white again. There is not a single stain on here. Just get a close-up so you can see. So yeah, all the dirt is gone. It's beautifully white again. So that is just my little tips and tricks for keeping my hems clean. Now obviously it is different with silk and I suppose taffetas. For the most part you would need to be a bit more careful with those fabrics. Also, when you're doing the stain remover combination, it's always good to test the fabrics before you actually apply it to the stain. So if you have like a little sample of your fabric, I definitely recommend doing a test on it, because in some cases it can bleach the fabric, and that is because of the hydrogen peroxide in it. So I definitely recommend doing a sample before you put this combination on, say like a $50 a meter or yard silk. That stain remover combination is really good. I've used it on my kids' clothes, I've gotten ink out of their clothes, I've gotten chocolate syrup, I've gotten a lot of stains out with that stain remover. So that is one of my go-to stain removers for costumes and for regular clothing. Now, before I forget, there is one final tip I want to share, and that is if you have a costume that cannot be washed and you don't want to dry clean it, you can use something else, which is a little bit of a costumer's trick in theater and possibly film. I think in film it usually just gets dry cleaned, but in theater we like to use something called a French wash or a Russian wash, depending on who you talk to. And what that is vodka. So essentially you spray your clothes with vodka on the inside. It's just to get rid of the smells that are left in costumes that are not the pleasant. So the vodka, it will completely like kill any bacteria that is living in the clothes, and it gets rid of all the smells. So if you want to try that out, I definitely recommend it. My usual ratio is 2 parts vodka, 1 part water, depending also on who you talk to. Some people say 1-to-1 ratio, and others just say straight vodka. So I just use the cheapest stuff I can, and I put it into a spray bottle, and then just spray the costumes on the inside, and then just let it air dry. And then once it's dry, the smell should be gone. If it's not, you can do another round of French wash or vodka spray, whatever you want to call it, and it'll help keep your costumes smelling great. It's also a great alternative to using things like, say, Febreze. I can't handle Febreze. The smell is way too strong and chemical-y for me, so I much prefer something like this, which the smell disappears as soon as it evaporates. Again, this can be used on like normal clothes as well. So like if you say have a wedding dress that has been sitting in your closet for over 7 years and still hasn't been cleaned, you can use this on it. I definitely recommend testing the fabrics before you just go crazy. So yeah, that is everything for today. Thank you for watching to the end. Let me know if you have any costumes that you plan on using these tips on, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So I will see you next time, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye! So, oh my goodness. Bloopers, bloopers.